Welcome to Local Leverage, the podcast that helps you grow your business. I'm your host, Mark Hockridge, and today we're sitting down with a powerhouse in the mortgage industry, a leader who's not only built a top-performing brokerage, but's now shaping the future for independent loan officers nationwide. From leading one of the fastest-growing brokerages to taking the helm of AIME, he's on a mission to help small brokerages scale, compete, and dominate. Please join me in welcoming the CEO of AIME, Jonathan Haddad. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Well, let's just jump right in. I'd like to first acknowledge that, a few months back you sold Next Door Lending to NerdWallet. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So tell me about that process. How did you build up to selling your company to NerdWallet? And how did you get to that point?
So a lot of mistakes, first and foremost. It's funny. People always think, everything was done perfectly. I'm like, you have no idea how not perfectly it was done. So just going through the process, being open to the potential sale was always something on my partner and I's mind, even when we, started this business and started going through everything. We didn't know when it would happen, if it would happen, obviously. And then an opportunity crosses your desk and you're like, what's going on? This is awesome.
And you did that. You started in 2019, correct?
We started in 2019. I joined February of 2020 as a partner. We had three of us at the time, and then we bought one of ours out. He was ready to retire. He's been in the industry for like 25 years. So as part of the acquisition, he's moved on, and then now my partner Doug and I are running the show. It's fascinating because we're a mortgage broker. So not many mortgage brokers have backing like this, right? We're a publicly traded company now because of NerdWallet. So it's been cool, learning and understanding the corporate side of things again. And there are certain things that I remember now missing from my days in the corporate side for sure. But
pros and cons, right? But so tell me about that. I mean, so when you made that transition to now being held by a corporate entity, a public traded company, what did that impose on you? I mean, it seems like there'd be all sorts of new regulation and bureaucracy and just other things.
You know what it is? And part of it is nerve-wracking, but then it becomes very freeing. And here's what I mean. A lot of people, if you go to them and you were like, okay, show me your books, they wouldn't. Imagine you go into someone's household and I say, show me your phone.
Sure.
Seriously. Right?
Yeah.
Like that really is my baby. That was my baby, still is my baby. But it still feels the same way as if you were to come to me, right? Imagine I walk into your home and I say, show me your family's finances right now. All of it. I want to see it all. Every bank account, every dollar you spend, everything.
Yeah. I'm not that transparent.
So at first it's like, oh gosh, oh no. But then you do it and it's so relieving. It's like, there's nothing to hide. Like, here it is. What's going on? So I think the biggest thing is the fact that we have to be so on top of everything now, and it is incredibly freeing. And at first the anxiety was there, but the fact that like every dollar we spend is being monitored makes you feel good. Like imagine you had that person in your house all day, or like, imagine you go to buy Starbucks coffee and I pop up on your shoulder and I go, hey, what are you doing? You should invest that. What are you doing? That's not good for the family. So really good. I hope that analogy makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it would be frustrating, but in 10 years, imagine if I was on your shoulder every time you bought coffee. You'd be pissed the first year, but after 10 years, if I said, look how much money you have, you'd go, man, thanks for doing that for 10 years. So
yeah, for sure.
There's a double-edged sword to it.
Did you experience that same, frustration or concern as you were maybe building out your data room in preparation for the sale? I mean, obviously now you're surfacing all this information, financial and operational and otherwise. Did you have anxiety in that process, or was it more at the transaction?
So I will say this: there was a lot of mistakes that we made, right? Building a business, for example, I feel like it takes people a lot of time to build process and procedures out and all of this. So one thing, though, that we did do early on, and it was really cool because, look, we always had an interest of selling when we created this place. So one thing we did do right away is we spent a lot on data. So our data room was really good. I'm not going to say perfect, but that was the one area I didn't have anxiety because we had a majority of our things where they were like, okay, that
great.
process only took us like a week. because of how good our data was. We are very on top of it. We had a really great data scientist who happens to be a good friend of mine teach us about data, how to store data, how to properly do it, why it's important, buying the firewalls for the data. I mean, it was a very large 6-figure investment that we made early on into our data room. So believe it or not, that was one area where we were really good. But for those out there listening, he's not kidding. That is a huge focus these companies had, especially for companies like ours. Any real estate company, you're dealing with private, very sensitive information. I didn't yes, our stuff was good. I didn't realize how serious they took it until their team, we're talking on-site visits, people coming. So if your data isn't legit, isn't dialed in, your fields aren't updated properly, take the time now to do it right up front. Hire someone to do it for you. Every loan that closes, get it done correctly. He is spot on. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and I think so many folks don't think about that. I mean, it sounds like you went into this business with the expectation or desire to ultimately exit it, and so you're thinking about that from the get-go. But sometimes people aren't entering it that way, right? They're just continuing to operate, and then when they do get ready for an exit or preparing for one, boy, they're just trying to, how do I assemble all this into rational ways, and how do I make sure that it's deep enough yet not too deep? I mean, there's a whole bunch in there, right?
Yeah, and you can't, like I told you before, you can't hide anything. And I do think part of it came, I did start my journey at Rocket Mortgage, Quicken Loans, back 12 years ago now. And that was always a thing. And, you don't know why. I was 21 years old when I started. I didn't really know anything. So that was definitely ingrained in my partner and myself early on. So that definitely played a small role. You don't really realize the importance of it until you need it.
Yeah.
And obviously when we needed it, we had it, and there wasn't the scrambling. There wasn't the calls and the duct tape and trying to keep the bumper up, just, I don't know. So I agree. But I think that came from really early on for us.
Did your partner also come from retail mortgage?
Yes. Okay. All three of us initially were all retail.
Okay. And so the two of them, it sounds like, maybe preceded you by a few months, and then you joined in as a co-founder. Is that how that works?
Yep, correct. So I think about 3 months, 4 months.
I'm always curious about this, and I'm down a rabbit hole, but how did you go about, forming that partnership? How did you determine, okay, who's going to be responsible for what? That division of labor, because oftentimes that can be a very easy mismatch where you got too many visionaries, not enough executors. Like, how did you structure that and think through that?
You're spot on. I think the thing with me, I am. Sometimes people always say I can be a little too honest, but I can't help myself. That was something that we screwed up heavy up front. You don't really know. Like, one, you need to understand your partner's end goal. Like, I didn't know one of my partners was done in 5 to 7 years, but that's not his fault. That's my fault.
Hugely important, though.
It's not his fault at all. Like, I didn't ask him. He doesn't need to tell me, like, hey, just so you know, he doesn't know what this is going to be, what it's going to look like. So, number one, ask a ton of questions as much as you can, because up front it's always rainbows and butterflies, and people are excited and ready to go. And I love my partner, right? I really do. But we've had a lot of turmoil. We've had a lot of conflict, and the reason there was conflict is why we didn't sort out a lot of the stuff that we just didn't know. So a lot of the things that happen is you start to go through the business, and the business starts to grow, and you start to scale, and the money comes in the door. And then now people have different ideas of what to do with the money.
Absolutely.
So, after we had our conversation, we really flipped the script as partners. And we were like, okay, this is your lane. You make decisions on this. You make decisions on this. You make decisions on this. Your decisions are final in these areas. Here are decisions that require unanimity across the boat. So this is a unanimous decision. Here's what it would require. And then we had a list of things that would required all three to sign off. Not a majority. It was 3 people signing off. That's something I wish we would have done to start versus a year and a half, 2 years later.
Absolutely.
So I think a lot of people go down that path, unfortunately. And it's not a bad thing. Again, you just don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
But then money comes in. It's different, right? And it is true. It's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with it. But really make sure you sit down with your partners if you're going to have them, put it in writing, have operating agreements. It's real. It is what it is. There's nothing wrong with it. Just have the conversations, and it'll make your life easier. So first year and a half, tough, not in a bad way. It's just it's COVID, Everyone's making money hand over fist. Everybody has different decisions and thinking of what is coming next. Nobody had an idea that the economy would take the turn it did for the last 3 years. So just sit down, talk to your partners, understand the intricacies, who's doing what, why they're doing it. The last thing, always put in there, agree. Like if anybody has interest to sell, put the number in the operating agreement.
Gotta have a buy-sell agreement.
Agree on.
Yes.
And that's something we did do. So that was really cool to have that in there. So that stuff is really important and goes a really long way.
Can you give a little bit of, I don't want to get into the private stuff, but can you give us a little bit of color on kind of how did that initial disagreement surface and how did it force you then to establish these controls? Because I think that's, it was a great forcing factor. I'm sure it wasn't comfortable as it happened, but I'm curious about how it surfaced and where you started realizing that you had, lack of alignment.
Well, one of the areas that we do a really good job, and we still do to this day, it's a rule that I have. You're not allowed to have resentment. If you have resentment, it's your fault, not my fault. And the reason I say that is this. If you don't bring something up to me, and my team knows this, I have a team of 24 LOs. You don't get to tell me about an issue you had with me about something that happened a month ago. You got 2 days. If you don't tell me, I can't guess. So that happened with us really quickly. We took that rule, and we're really big into, there's a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yeah.
If you've ever, yes, by Patrick. Yeah. So great book. Excellent. And the first layer is trust, but then the next layer is conflict. I trust these people already. So I know the trust is there. We're not afraid of conflict at all. None of us were. We're still not. And that does make it a lot easier. So it legitimately happened 2-3 days after we had a difference in terms of the vision on where we want to go, whether it's spending money on tech or leads or how to scale the company. And we sat down on a Saturday. We legit came into the office and were there for 8 hours. 8-hour conversation, good to go. Everything got built. We wrote it all down, sent it to the attorneys. I know it sounds crazy, but people, you have no idea how much gets brewed up by simply not having the conversation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the first thing was, we need to talk right now. That's what I said. All of us met. We all agreed. We met in the office Saturday morning at like 7 or 8 a.m., and we sat there for 8 hours. And it worked. It worked.
It's funny. It's funny. Your story mirrors one of my own. I recall one of my first companies had 2 co-founders, and we reached that inflection point where our visions were different, and also we were, I think, just struggling. What did we want to become? And same thing. We did an all-day kind of session. There was laughs, there was tears, there was frustration, the whole thing. But we came out of it with some clarity around both what did we want to go do, and it also fleshed out one of our founders. I mean, one of the co-founders was like, okay, this isn't my jam, and that's cool. And we facilitated that exit and continued down the path.
I love that. And it's, it doesn't have to be a big deal. But to your point, the other thing of it too, when you're in that room, is so many people, you know what, I'm going to say it, I don't even care. People with winning mindsets are people that aren't going to hold something against you that don't go right. So here's what I mean by that, okay? In that room, if you have a disagreement amongst A-type personalities, generally speaking, that means one person's vision is going to be wrong. All right? So that means either what we're deciding to do as a unit is going to be right or wrong. Whichever person disagreed with it up front, you don't ever want them to come back and say, I told you it wasn't going to work.
Right.
And there's so many people that have that mindset. So the other portion of it is like, hey, do we actually agree with this decision? Or are you just saying it to appease me or appease the partner? I'm not going to move forward with something if you're doing it to appease me. Because what you're not going to ever do is look at me in a year and say, I told you were wrong.
Right.
That's going to be a problem for us.
I totally agree. I integrate that even into your leadership team where it's like, disagree but commit. Right? And the way we go.
Sorry, I'm taking that from your book.
Yeah, that served us well, that disagree and commit. When we walk out of that room, because now you got to go in front of the rest of your team as well. And if you're not a unified front,
they feel it.
They feel it immediately. That's right.
There's a study, tons of studies on kids, and even at like 1.5, 2 years old, kids can feel the emotions of their parents, whether it's stress. It's a real science to it.
Absolutely.
I by no means am I saying these are my kids. These are adults and they handle their own business. However, if I'm leading the company and they look to me to make decisions and they need to make sure that John knows how to make sure we have food on the table, I promise you, your people will feel the disconnect if you are somebody that's disconnected from the mission. So I love, disagree but commit. You gave me goosebumps. I'm taking
I love it. Hey, let me jump back to your transition into this independent mortgage space. So, you're at Rocket. Your partners are in retail. I don't know if they were Rocket as well, but how did you get the gumption to say, I'm going to break out of this and I'm going to go do it for myself? Like, I'm going to go start brokerage. Like, that seems like a baller move. How did you get the intestinal fortitude to do it, and maybe even the means to do it?
I did very well at my previous place of employment. Thank God. At a very young age, I started making money at about 22 years old. My family lost a lot. My story's all over the place. People can see it. So I did make a lot of money in a short period of time. So I ended up moving to California and was out of the mortgage space for a year. I was really? I was in my 20s doing mortgages, and I was I still am, but I was 100 hours a week, every day, nonstop. It's just never ending for me. So went to California for for a year. After 6 months, I was so bored, and California's super expensive. I live in Michigan. I was burning through money. It was crazy. I was like, oh my God, this is wild out here. So different.
Yeah, it is.
So I did commercial real estate out there. I got my real estate license. I was like, I'm just going to go meet the richest people I can. So met a guy, did commercial real estate. I'm like, look, I'm not going to be here long. I just need to figure something out to do. I want to meet wealthy people before I enter back into the mortgage industry. And when I entered back, I was either going to do one of three things: start it myself, do my own company, something I've always wanted to do. B, I was going to join. I had a lot of offers on the table. People wanted me to lead their channels. Or C, I was going to join forces with somebody, but as an owner. So it was one of three things. So I ended up taking the last one and just running with it. I always had, I always tell people my confidence can be very unrealistic for some people. And it's not on purpose. It's just, I go in with that attitude because I know logic will kick in very quickly and I will figure it out, or somebody's going to help me figure it out, or I'm not going to be built for it. But I'm not going to go into a situation not confident. I just, it's not in me to do it that way. That doesn't mean I know what I'm doing, because I don't. But I did know that I am the type of human being that just can figure things out. And I was ready to try and figure something out. And that's just where I was at, and turned into something that I figured out. I did have, I'm 33. So when I got into this space, I was 28. My risk could be really high, just to be very upfront with audience members, right? So some people might say, well, John, the risk. That's a fair statement. I didn't have any kids yet at the time. It was just an easier decision to make. I have twins now and a newborn, so I got 3 kids. I'm married. It would be different. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it again, but I definitely would have thought longer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, your risks are much higher. And also we start acquiring stuff, right? Now all of a sudden we have this overhead, and so it just makes it, it's not like you can just, bunk up on somebody's couch while you work through your startup idea. You've got a family.
Yes, you know the game.
Yeah, that's cool. So one of the reasons I was really excited about having you on and talking to you is both, I love speaking to entrepreneurs who have kind of been there, done that, and had success with it, which is fantastic. But also your current endeavor. So you're now the CEO of AIME, and helping other independent mortgage brokers to find their path for success. So I want to talk a bit about that. Tell me maybe a bit more about AIME's mission and how you're serving these folks.
Yeah, so AIME is the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts. I took over the role January 25th of last year as the CEO. We have over 20,000 members as part of this group, a majority of which are mortgage brokers. Most mortgage brokers are made up of your small mom and pop shops. But 1 out of 4 Americans closes their home with a mortgage broker. 1 out of 4 now. 25% of the people. So what my job is to do is to help keep people inspired and teach them all the tactics and the ways to help consumers get into a home. See, I was in retail for a long time, and one of the areas that retail continues to do a better job at than mortgage brokers is refinancing their past book of business, their past clients.
Yep.
There's public data everywhere from very large entities that are retail that are doing 20,000 plus refinances, and of those, over 80% are from their past book of business. So I'm teaching them how to do that. I'm teaching them how to monitor their past book. I'm teaching them how to not lose business. I'm teaching them how to keep these consumers inside their community, inside their database, because we know that there's higher margins on retail, and these companies are publicly traded. It's not like I'm just speaking out of air right now. Just go look it up. You can see the margins. Mortgage brokers are cheaper for consumers. We just have to help break down all the constructs that have been put in place about why mortgage brokers are bad. First and foremost, when the crisis happened, I was in high school. So don't blame me, okay? Let's just start there. Nothing to do with me at all. Number two, the amount of additional regulations that have been put into place really protect consumers. We can't give a bad loan out. And then the last piece of it for me with our community is really simple. I am so sick of salespeople getting this negative connotation that we're like Matilda's dad, okay? Where we're the sleazy car salesperson and we're putting the duct tape on the bumper. Being an effective salesperson means you are a great communicator. That's all it means. I know doctors, right? There's doctors out there that are bad apples. There's lawyers out there that are bad apples. Yes, there's probably mortgage brokers that are. There's retail loan officers. There's just bad apples in the world. It is what it is. It is what it is. But you are not going to sit here and make me feel bad or make our community feel bad about sales. We're just high-level communicators, and I want to teach that to the community and stop making people feel bad about sales having a negative connotation around it. So those are the three areas that I really focus on driving it home.
Awesome.
It wasn't an easy journey, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And what does the AIME organization look like? I mean, how many folks are there, and what kind of resources are you bringing to bear?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I'll kind of fill you in the story if you want the whole.
Yeah, give it to me.
So when I got launched, it went very badly, publicly very bad. My company was working triggers at the time as well. I do outside sales. I work lead flow as well. We were working triggers, and that was a big push prior to me coming in, that AIME was, pushing against triggers. And even though I had been donating money and all, it didn't matter. So I got my first 60 days, I got decimated.
Can you, just for the audience, I mean, for those that aren't in mortgage, this concept of trigger leads, can you talk a little bit about that and why they have such a bad rap?
Yeah, so what a credit trigger is you as a consumer go and get your credit pulled for a mortgage. Once you get a hard pull for a mortgage companies can then buy the data from credit providers, so TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, and then we can also they would call you as the consumer. They would also call you outside of just your bank or whoever it is that you're talking to. So what ended up happening, and here's what's crazy, because I'm sitting there just like, no, we do it the right way. I'm not making 1,000 calls here, but no one cared, right? Because it's not about that.
Right.
So what happens a lot of the times is there's a lot of companies out there that aren't truthful to these consumers, and there's a lot of companies that'll call. Some consumers would get 100 calls a day.
Oh yeah, just inundate them.
It is crazy, and there does need to be some reform around there. So that's what I was getting a lot of heat for, even though it was a very small part of my company's business. That's not the point. The point is that's what the community felt. So the first 60 days were really tough, right? It's like dealing with that. So boots on the ground, I did what I did best. Pick up my phone and make phone calls. I made over 1,000 calls in 60 days. And just one by one, calling. Once that stopped, then I just kept pouring back into the community and giving them everything that I possibly could. Just free content, and making myself readily available. I gave my cell phone number out publicly at least a dozen times. You have an issue, call me. Here's my phone. Call me. That really changed the tune. I also did last year for free. I did not take a salary. So I did it for completely free. And I said, let me show you what I can do first, and then let's pay me. Okay? So now I have a salary. I've put in the work. I've done all the stuff. AIME, we have about 14 employees. We throw the largest mortgage event for mortgage brokers every year called Fuse. This year it's going to be in Nashville, October 23rd through the 25th. And we are really focusing on the mortgage broker, on the homeowner, and showcasing to them why they should use a mortgage broker, and on the real estate agent and why they should also use a mortgage broker. So AIME runs heavy with a light staff, but these people are elite. I love them. They work so hard. It's unbelievable to watch them work and push towards a cause.
That's cool. I'm all about helping small businesses and entrepreneurs succeed, and so you're speaking to me.
Yes, sir.
How are you helping to direct these folks to break the cycle of using trigger leads? Like, how are you giving them control of their lead generation and their ability to grow their businesses outside of that?
Past clients, the amount of, mortgage brokers do a really great job dominating the purchase market share. And you've seen it over the last few years because of the additional market share that has been gained. And you saw the flip of the number one lender in the country, right? Becoming a UWM who's just strictly wholesale. So that means mortgage brokers, right? That's who's sending them a lot of this business. So the one area that we don't win is refinances. So how can mortgage brokers win the purchase market share every year, but they don't win the refi market share? What does that mean? The other piece of it is if you go look at the data, and I'm waiting for the new data, so I just have 23's data right now. I will have 24's here shortly. In 2023, for example, 650,000 cash out refinances occurred. Of those, mortgage brokers only accounted for 19%.
Wow.
There was one company out there, one retail mortgage company that accounted for 21%. Mortgage brokers as a whole, every mortgage
That's
broker,
crazy.
19%. One company, retail, 21%. And then the rest is retail companies. Why? So for us, what we're doing and what I'm helping them with is I'm showing them this data, and then I'm teaching them how I did it for so long. I'm giving them the scripts. All the scripts are completely free to our AIME community. They get it all, how to call, how to have the conversation. We can't be losing those opportunities. We cannot lose them. You can work your book of business and put yourself in a great position for the next 3 years if you know what you're looking at and know how to have the conversation. So that's just one area that we're focusing on.
Is it pretty typical that when somebody leaves retail and goes to independent, that their book of business is essentially the property of the retail brokerage? Or
yeah, it happens a lot. It does. I'm not going to say it's everybody because I have come across some really people. They're like, look, and you know this. There is a fine line, right? There really is a fine line on what is or isn't. Because from a data protection, I do have to service and hold some. Like, there is a fine line, but there are companies that pillage, and that's very scary when you start seeing the pillaging. We have real examples, unfortunately, of organizations, and I don't talk about this a lot because I'm not trying to get into the issues here, but I am working on something. But we have organizations that we have proof of that when their loan officer leaves, we have recorded calls where their previous employer will call their real estate agents and trash them.
oh, jeez.
They fight. I have them. So that stuff's very unacceptable. It is quite frustrating when we get stuff like that. There is a fine line, like I said, where it is just a level of respect, and there's things because I have to protect myself as a business owner. For those listening, for example, like if we do a loan for a consumer, but then somebody else tries to do a refinance for them a month later, the original loan officer who received commission in the company, they can lose their commission on that. And that's called early payoff. That happens within 6 months of doing a consumer's loan. So if you work for me and then you leave and then you decide to pillage your clients and do all the ones you just did because it's not going to impact you because you don't work at my company, well, yeah, we have to have a conversation.
Yep.
Yeah, it's exactly. We have to have a conversation. So there is a fine line. It is unacceptable in certain cases, but I also believe there is a double-edged sword in making sure you're having conversations as somebody is exiting your company.
Yeah. In this role, you're out fighting the battle to try to move the industry forward every day. What's the one battle that you consistently are having to lean into?
It's such a good question. I love it. So the biggest battle that we run into consistently, I think it's across the board, not just for AIME, but for my people as well at Next Door Lending. You have to take ownership first. You can't, we make a majority of the income on these loans, and we get paid very well. For those listening and don't understand, like there's a lot of great opportunity on the mortgage side. That's why so many people are in it. It's not easy. But if you're receiving a chunk of the money, that's like like imagine your doctor screws up and then blames the nurse. I just think, well, it's her fault. It's his fault. I know I'm the doctor, but they screwed up. You can't do that. And we deal with it a lot, and I get it. It's hard out there, and it has not been an easy 3 years, and people aren't making as much money as they were. I get it. But you have to take accountability first. A majority of the issues that we get when I go in, because we get a lot of escalation. So if a loan's going south, they come to us at AIME. That's another value we provide. And we reach out and we check in. Now, this isn't everybody, but a lot of the situations that we get are simply because we just didn't do a thorough job up front asking questions. So it's not easy because when they're calling, I'm dealing with the emotion first. So you can't really say when someone's that emotional, well, you should have done it this way. Not a good way to do feedback. So I have to wait a little bit. I'll wait a couple days. I'll fix the issue and then I'll circle back. But you make most of the money. You have to take a majority, if not all of the blame. It's that simple.
Yep. Comes along with it for sure. It seems like there's a lot of folks, I mean, maybe it's just my perspective, a lot of folks making that transition from retail into independent. And you see, or you hear lots of stories about that being very challenging. As you see the landscape or just the situation of somebody making that transition, what's the biggest challenge for a brokerage or an independent LO in continuing to grow their business?
You know, for those that shift over, a lot, like especially me, right? A lot of the times you just don't, you're like the grass isn't greener or whatever that's happening or this is happening. A lot of it just has to do with your ability to adapt quickly. There isn't a lot of drastic changes, in my opinion, personally, as somebody that spent a really long time in retail at a really high level. A few things are going to throw you off, like pricing just looks different because of compliance and the law. So that's always like a weird, like not a pain point, but it's always something that takes longer than I expect for people. But it's not how we were taught when I was in the retail side. So just understanding compliance and how to get paid as a mortgage broker and how it actually works because the compliance is different. And the other piece of it too is, you have a lot of lenders, so you have to get signups for every single lender. Right. So there is for sure something to say about that and being prepared for it. Because, I don't want to, whenever I bring people over from retail, I bring in a lot. I never tell them like rainbows and butterflies. You know better. I'm like, look, here's the stuff I don't like. All right. I just want to make sure you understand, but here's the stuff I absolutely love. And here's why you're going to love it. So all the lender portals, like you have to get signed up. Learning the lender portals are multiple. So if you don't have processors or an LOA and you're somebody that does it all yourself, you just have to learn multiple lender portals, how to register this out, how to send out loans. But everything else it really is the same. You get credit reports within 10 seconds. You can run your loan through the underwriting guidelines to make sure it looks good. All of that stuff is there's no difference there.
So break that down for me. Let's say I'm a retail LO right now, considering making the change to independent. What are those pros and cons from your perspective?
First thing I would ask you is your current compensation structure. I would say I want to give you a real number on there so I could actually double check. I don't want to give you the wrong answer. But a large portion of people that come over, they already have the chance to make more the second they become a broker. So the first thing I always show people, if it were you, I'd say, okay, tell me what you make, how you make money. And then I would show you our system and I'd say, okay, plug in your same numbers. Here's what you make with me. Almost not every time, but very close to every time, their eyes do this.
Oh, yeah.
But now I'm like, okay, now you are making X more, but understand here's the additional cost to you. Then I go into like what it is. For instance, right? Like credit reports. A lot of retail people, their credit reports are covered by their company. There's mortgage brokers that do the same for their loan officers, but some don't. For me, I don't. With my people, they cover it, but they also make a hell of a lot more than what most people are paying them. So it's a give and take, and I just walk them through that process. The other piece is I break down processing for them. Some of these people that come in, they like to process their own loans. I was one of them for the longest time. I show them our process, and I'm like, you need to get out of your mindset of only I can do this. That's the mindset I was in. My job is to help make you more money. You need to trust the process. A lot of them takes them some time to trust it because they're just so used to being all hands on. So those are like 2 or 3 really big areas that and again, it's not that it's difficult, but it takes time to learn it. and you really have to let go of some of your things that you were taught, because you don't know what you don't know. And you've been being sold, like I was, about why you shouldn't be a mortgage broker for the longest time. So you're always nervous and cautious up front.
I would assume, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, as you make that transition from working for somebody to working for yourself, it comes with all sorts of additional tasks. Now you're buying and assembling your tech stack, you're dealing with taxes, all these other bookkeeping, all these different things that you weren't exposed to in the past. How much of that is reality in this transition?
So every company's different. For the way we do it, we handle all that's handled by us. So we do handle your tech stack. We set all that up for you. We have our payroll systems. We have HR team. But my company is going to be a little more corporate. And there are a lot, by the way, let me be very clear, a lot of mortgage brokers that take the same approach my company takes. But to your point, there are companies that make you do all of your stuff on yourself, and they take even less money than we take. So you have to make sure that if you are somebody that's in the retail side and looking to join the broker side, ask all the questions he's talking about right now. He is spot on. Okay, do I have to cover accounting? Do I have to take care of QuickBooks? Do I have to reconcile? Because that will be additional tasks. Like for me, we do all their loan registrations for them. We process their loans for them. We bring them, we have an HR portal. I take that off their plates. So my whole pitch is, hey, look, I'm going to give you the retail feel without the margin. So what I mean is I'm going to give you all the infrastructure that you had in retail. The difference is you can have all that, but you can still sell better rates to your clients and make more money, and here's how we do it. And it's been working, thank God, incredibly well.
Awesome. We touched on this a little bit, but I'm just curious to go back. I mean, aside from referral or existing business, or existing book, how else, what are the best methods for independent LO to generate new leads?
So here, I'll number one, I'm going to go, it's funny you asked. I've been going through this really, really heavily with my team and really trying to explain to them how this works and what it all means. So the first thing you need to understand from a sales perspective, before I go into this with you, is do you have a sales process, first and foremost? So that means that every conversation you have, whether it's trying to gain more business, whether it's trying to get a loan closed, whether it's trying to get a date, I don't care. What is your process? So for me, there's been a lot of science and studying done on influencing and how to influence human beings, right? And what it looks like and all of that. So the first thing I teach is the process. So I always ask, like, how do I get more business? What's your process? Most people are like, I don't know. So 5 steps. Number 1, reciprocity. Number 2, social proof. Number 3, scarcity and urgency. Number 4, authority and confidence. And number 5, emotional connection over logic. So when I go into a conversation, if you're trying to get an agent, a real estate agent to work with you, a financial advisor to work with you, I go in with having an opportunity for all 5 of those that I just mentioned. So an example of that for reciprocity would be something like this. If I was talking to a real estate agent, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, what if I could show you for free every client over the last 5 years that did a transaction with you, but then chose another realtor for their second transaction? Would that be of value to you if I could give that to you for free? What? Yes, it would be. So reciprocity, I just opened the door. I also created urgency and scarcity. I just said you lost something.
Yeah.
I can give it to you. Now, you see, I don't give this to all of my agents. I do want to just give this first one to you for free, just so you can see what I have the opportunity to do for you to help grow. So that's already, you kind of see my idea there.
Yeah, I see that. And I also think I picked up on this, on the sales process piece. I mean, if you don't have a good lead capture and nurture sequence, then generating the lead is...
Who cares? It doesn't matter. So when someone says, John, what do you do at a networking event? It doesn't matter what I do. I have a process, and I follow that process. So number 1, do you have a process? If you don't, figure it out and actually mean the process you're building. The 5 things I gave you, I believe in them in my heart of hearts. I've studied them like crazy, and now I'm talking about them. So that's number 1. Number 2, once you have the process, whatever you do, when you go to a networking event or a game plan, at every networking event that you go to, Your goal is not to earn a transaction. You have to get out of the instant gratification mindset.
100%.
Out the door. And you know why? After COVID happened, think about all the information that was gathered was all through what? Online. So even consumers, when they're buying things, because mortgages were happening, real estate's still happening, what are they doing? They're now using online more than anything else they've ever used in their life. So the way to gather information exploded. So all your little tips and tricks and stuff from the past, it doesn't work anymore because people know the BS.
Yeah.
So it's very important that when I go to a networking event, I get out of the instant gratification mindset and you move yourself into a different mindset. When I go to a networking event, my goal is to what? Is to get 5 phone numbers. All I want 5 phone numbers. From those 5 phone numbers, I want 2 meetings. So your framework has to be very dialed in when what you're talking about is leads. How do I generate more leads? Now from there, for loan officers, agents, financial advisors is a really big one that no one uses. Real estate agents obviously is big for mortgage brokers, or loan originators, I should say, is a big one. Your neighborhood, if you live in a house, I can't tell you. I was living in Vegas at the time. I think I refinanced my entire subdivision. I really think I did.
How did you make those connections? Was that door knocking?
All the community events.
Love it.
So it was Vegas. We did a lot of block parties in the neighborhood I lived at. So the neighbors would be out, just randomly with the kids, and just we were having fun. I would just go. We start talking, having conversations. All of a sudden, I'm doing one loan, I'm doing the next loan, and but I didn't go in there thinking they owed me something.
I think that's the key. I mean, in to your point about going or clearing the mindset from transactions to phone numbers or establishing relationships. That's so much more authentic and organic than just making it all about me. I'm here to get a transaction from you versus I'm here to bring you value in the form of information about deals that were lost and so forth. This is a whole different way of looking at it, and I think that's exactly the right way to approach it.
Well, you're spot on, and even deeper. The last piece of it I'll tell you is this: the other thing I tell my team is I tell them what I'm doing. So, for example, when I meet with an agent, and let's just say I get the meeting, right? So I want 5 conversations, I want 2 meetings, or 5 phone numbers, 2 meetings. If I get the meeting, the first thing I tell them is I say, okay, listen, hey, first of all, thank you, all right, but I want to get on the same page here. Just so you understand, my end goal is to work with you. The biggest difference is 2 things with me. Number 1, I'm going to tell you my end goal is to work with you. I'm not going to ask you for a cup of coffee. And number 2, I'm going to earn the right to work with you. I don't believe I've deserved it. So before we start our conversations, are we on the same page with those 2 things? All right, awesome. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I do it with everything. Hey, just so you know, here's my intent long term. It works. It works because they're no longer guessing. And I'm also saying I'm here to earn it. I know it's not going to be easy. I don't think it is. But I'm also not going to I'm not going to avoid the elephant in the room. The best salespeople are the ones that tell you they're going to sell you and then still sell you. They are. I'm telling you, just so you know, this is a sale. I do want your business. I'm going to earn it, though. Imagine you start every conversation like that. Like the intention of the person. Now it's how much easier it is to have a conversation. They know what I want. So that's just a little trick that works pretty well.
Love it. I mean, 2025 is uncertain, but if you could tell LOs and brokers across the country, one thing to prepare and to excel this year, what would that be?
It is an acronym that I have been dropping to everybody that I believe in, that I will make the acronym for the next 10 years if I can. The acronym is ACTA, and the easiest way to remember is really simple. Don't act a fool in 2025, all right?
Okay.
I do this in quarters. So it's really important that you work in quarters. Do not work in yearly increments. The reason why is it's very rare that a human being actually accomplishes. You're more likely to succeed working in quarters.
Totally
so
agree.
Quarter 1A of the ACTA is activity. Activity, and by the way, y'all, this isn't just for loan officers. This is for everybody. This is for your personal life. This is for agent. This is for anybody. Activity for Q1 needs to get you out of the instant gratification mindset. Activity is the things you want. This could be date night that you plan. These could be networking events. This can be you want to, activity every morning. You do Miracle Mornings, if you've read that book. Gratitude every day. Whatever your activity is, all of Q1 is about figuring out the activity you love to do. C, consistency in your calendar. That's quarter 2. After you figured out the activity for Q1, start adding these to your calendar and being consistent with it.
Yeah.
Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't fill your calendar up with 100 things to do between 8 and 5. You're never going to do it, and you're going to feel very less accomplished at the end of the day and very defeated. So after you have the activity you love, add it to your calendar and see if you can be consistent for Q2. Q3, the T is training. Now you've found the activity you love. You've been consistent with your calendar. What are you doing to receive additional training on the things you love? And more importantly, what are you doing to train others? Because the best way to learn is to teach.
Yep.
So what are you doing to train others on the things you love to do? And then Q4, the A, ACTA, accountability. The American research for, I believe it's training and development, says you have a 95% chance to accomplish a task with a partner. Did you know that?
Didn't know
So
that.
if you're one of the lucky few people that is an absolute, just dialed in, focused human being and don't need other people, by all means, hats off to you. I am not. If you're like me, find somebody that you can help hold yourself accountable to all the other things you talked about for the last 3 quarters. So don't act a fool in 2025.
Love that.
26 or any year moving forward.
John, great framework, and I think it's an awesome place for us to finish. Thank you so much. You gave so many actionable insights and some great stories about your journey. Really appreciate your time and participating in the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Great. Hey, if you got value from this, please subscribe or make sure to share this with a colleague or friend that can get value from it as well.